Good afternoon, everybody. Tammy from Tammy's Homesteading Crafts. Today we are in the kitchen. It's been a while since we've been in the kitchen. If you guys follow me on the shorts that I put out on YouTube, you will see that I harvested all of my carrots. So today I'm going to do a tutorial on how to preserve the carrots. So if that is something that interests you, stick around. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to welcome everybody to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. For those of you who this might be the very first time you're seeing my video, I hope you enjoy it. And for those of you who have subscribed and have been subscribing since the beginning, I really appreciate you guys subscribing. If you guys have not subscribed, consider doing so. Okay, so let's get into the tutorial. Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about preserving carrots. Carrots you can preserve them a couple of ways. You can hot pack them or you can cold pack them. I usually prefer to cold pack them because it allows me to just take my time at cutting up my carrots, and a lot of times I'll cut them up the night before. I'll put on the stove a thing of water and I'll get that going while I'm getting my jars ready and everything, and I'll put all of my carrots cold in the jars, fill them, put the salt in if you want. Now that's another option. People used to think you had to put salt in your vegetables when you can your stuff. You don't have to. Salt does not allow to make whether you're canning seals or not seals. It's just for the taste process. If you are using salt, always remember to use canning salt, because otherwise your vegetables will turn funny looking with the iodine in the salt if you're not using the canning salt, which is designed for canning. The other thing is, one of the things you want to do if you're going to start doing a lot of canning, there's a couple of books that are really good books to get. This is one that we have, the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. A really good book's got a lot of stuff in there to allow you to make different things and to try different things. Another quick guidebook is just this Ball Blue Book that they have out. They usually put a new one out each year. This one is pretty old. A new one out, sometimes new recipes inside of there. But as you can tell, I use mine a lot. I've got a lot of stuff marked where I know where everything is. And so those are a couple of books that you definitely want to get. You can get them, a lot of times you can get them, at least this one you used to be able to get at Walmart. The other one I've only found on Amazon, and actually I was gifted this book by somebody, so it was really nice that I had this book. But it's a good book to go buy. It's got a lot of different recipes in there that you can try when you're learning to preserve. The other thing with carrots, they need to be pressure canned. So we will be getting out our pressure canner for preserving the carrots, along with like your green beans. They have to be under so many pounds of pressure for a certain amount of time in order for them to seal properly and to be preserved for a longer period of time. You need to read the directions and know what area you're in to know the pounds of pressure that you need to preserve at. It tells you in your canning book, and you can look that up online. So you will go for your area to figure that out. So I will not show you setting up the canner. I will link the video that I do, a full canning video. I believe I have one for my green beans, and it's a full canning video where it shows you how to hook up the pressure canner and do all that. I will just show you getting everything ready, getting it in the pressure canner, and then when I'm done with it. As far as cutting up the carrots, I have no special thing for cutting them up. It's just, a knife, and cut them into cylinders or rounds so that I can put them into my jars. That's the only thing I have to do for that. So with the magic of the internet and television and the whole 9 yards, the next step you'll see will be all of my carrots cut up into little pieces. I will show the video that I did already of washing the carrots and getting them cleaned up. And then the next part of the video will just show you all of the carrots already cut into rounds. That way we can get them into the canning jars. So we will be back in just a few minutes. First thing I do once I pull the carrots out of the ground, I will get them rinsed off pretty good outside so that there's not a ton of dirt on them. And then I'll just take my vegetable brush and I will wash them just to try to let them soak a little bit in here so that the dirt will come off. And then just give them a scrub so that I can get most of the dirt off. That's all I'm going to do here, and just let them soak and allow the dirt to get off. Once I get them clean, I will put them over into the other sink so that I know which ones I have already addressed. But that's how I clean my carrots. The other thing is if you get your carrots fresh out of the garden and you don't let them sit too long, you don't have to peel them before you can them. You just want to get the little hairs and stuff off, and a lot of that will come right off when you use your brush. Little vegetable scrubber will get most of those little hairs off of there. Some of the big ones you have to pull off a little bit, but yeah, most of them will come right off when you, and they won't hurt you. If they don't all come off, they don't hurt to can. I've canned them with the little hairs on there. It doesn't hurt. They don't taste anything. As long as there's not dirt in them, it's not a big deal. It's just, just a little bit of hair that is on the vegetables themselves. But yeah, you just take the time to clean them up good so that you can get rid of all of the dirt that you have in them. Some take a little bit longer to clean. Some clean up pretty easy. It just depends on how deep your grooves are on the carrots. You don't have to peel them, which is nice. So like this one came really, really clean. And the only reason you peel carrots when you get them from the store is because the skin has gotten hard on them. This is nice and soft and still hasn't dried out yet, so it's really tender, and the skins are actually pretty good for you. There's a lot of vitamins into the skins, so if you don't have to peel them, don't. It takes a lot less time when you don't have to peel the carrots by just washing them and then cutting them. I mean, I have no special trick for cutting and no special equipment for cutting. I just take a paring knife, I cut the ends off, and I just dice them up into discs and put them in a colander, and then I'll give them another good rinse once they're done, just to make sure that there is no dirt that got onto anything, and then I'll put them in my jars. But I'll show you how I do that in a little bit. One of the first things I'll do while I'm getting my carrots ready, getting them all chopped up, I will get a pot of water on the stove on a lower temp, and I will start getting that bringing to a boil. We need hot boiling water to pour over the carrots that we put into our jars when we cold pack. That is how we cold pack. We put the fruit into the jars cold, and then we put boiling water over top of it, and then we stick those jars into the pressure canner with warm water inside of that. That water in the pressure canner does not need to be boiling, but it should be warm so that the jars will be warm. If you wash your jars and you have them sitting in warm hot water, you're putting everything into a warm jar other than the cold vegetables, getting them into a warm jar, putting them into the canner, and they will definitely, it'll take a little bit less time for everything to come up to temp to get the pressure into the canner pressurized so that you can get everything going a little bit faster. So as everything is warm, it just helps making that go. So the other thing that I'll do is get my jars ready and get them washed and get them sitting in a tub of hot water so that when I'm done cutting up all of my carrots, we will have those ready to go. So what I ended up doing here was, what I usually do is after I wash my jars, I will fill my sink up with hot water, and I will put my jars in the sink. To get as many jars as I possibly can, I usually stand them up and fill them with water so they are sunk down and there's water over top of them. And that's hot water, and they'll stay hot for quite a while, and they're at least warm while I cut up my carrots. And then once I'm ready to put the carrots into the jars, I'll just pull one out at a time and put it in. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of water in the bottoms of the jars. I'm just filling them with water anyways. It's not like you got a specific solution that you're putting on your carrots. So yeah, so that's how I do my jars. So I have my water going on the stove, and then I've got my jars sitting in hot water waiting for me while I cut up all of my carrots. So now I'll get to cutting up my carrots. We got all of our carrots cut. Now we're going to get some water into our canner. There is lines on the side of the canner when you're pressure canning that tell you where to fill to. I'm using my double dip pressure canner so that I can get 2 rows of pint jars into the canner. And I'll just put this on medium heat to keep the temperature warm while I get the jars filled. So we got part of our carrots in jars ready to receive its boiling water. Still waiting for the water to boil. Apparently I had it too low. I could have had it a little bit higher and it would have probably been ready to put on to all these. But that's okay. It allows me to make sure I have enough jars for the rest of it and be able to get the rest of these ready to go. I got the canner on the stove, and it is getting on medium heat, so the water is starting to get warm so that when I put the boiling water from this pot into the carrots, I can put my seal and ring on them and put them in the canner. Since this is a double canner, I need to make sure that I put my metal divider between the 2 jars so that they're not sitting on top of one another, which keeps them from possibly false sealing. If you put weight on top of another ring, it'll seal and it might not truly seal and you might have failures. So that's why they suggest you use the racks in between. I'll show you what that is. So this is the rack that you would use in between your jars. Once you put a layer of jars on the bottom of your canner, you're just going to lay this on top of those jars, and then you can put other jars on top of this. It's got the raised side on one side so that it doesn't allow them to lay flat onto the jars and possibly do a false seal. So we have our canner all full with 2 layers of jars. I'm just going to put the lid on it and let it start coming up to a boil. And once I get a steam of air out of the porthole, I will put the weight on, and then we will bring it up to pressure. And I've got to look at my book to see how many pounds of pressure. I believe it's 10 pounds of pressure, but I just don't know for how long. So let's look at that. So it looks like my carrots need to process for 25 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. So once I have my canner up to pressure, I will start the timer. So the canner lid is on. Once I have a good steam of hot air coming out of that, I will put my weight on there, and then it will start building pressure inside the pot. And then once the lever up here, once this pops out, that means the pot is pressurized, and then it will start counting up to the 10 pounds of pressure. Once I get it to 10 pounds of pressure, I will put my timer on. I will turn the heat down a little bit so that I can keep it at 10 pounds of pressure. You don't want to keep it higher than 10 pounds of pressure too long. I mean, if it gets up a little past 10 before you turn the heat down, that's okay, but you don't want to pressurize it for 15 or 20 if it only requires 10. You're overcooking your vegetables inside the pressure cooker. So get it to the temp and then adjust your heat that will keep it at that pounds of pressure that you need. And then once your timer goes off, you can turn the heat off. Remove it off the heat if you want to, if you can pick the canner up. This one's pretty big, so I usually just turn off the heat and let it sit there, and it'll come down with the pressure. But usually by the time 25 minutes goes along, I have my canner down to a 4 or a 5, because that's where it can keep 10 pounds of pressure. Once it gets going nice and hot, it'll, it won't, the burner will not be that hot for me to do that. So we're just going to wait on the pressure canner to get up to temp, and then we will start our process. And we still have carrots left over, so it looks like tomorrow we will be doing a small load of carrots. I will finish rinsing these and get them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the refrigerator. They'll be fine to store overnight, all cut up, and I will get them processed tomorrow, finish processing them tomorrow. But for right now, that's what I have. I'm not going to go through the whole process of showing you the steam in the pressure cooker. That I will link my canning video down below, so that if you guys want to watch that, you can go ahead and watch that canning video on how to set your canner up and what you need to watch for as far as getting it up to temp. Well guys, that was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you might have learned something on how to preserve some vegetables. It's always nice to grow your own vegetables, and being able to preserve them is a benefit. So now, if you guys didn't catch the short, I did grow my carrots in buckets this year. I did it last year to try. It was a test, and I did it again this year. And I got a full 8-quart basket out of 4 buckets. They were about this big around, big flower pots that I had. And I just sprinkled some carrot seeds in there and covered them and let them go. I didn't do anything with them. It was nice because there wasn't a lot of weeds in there. In the ground, the weeds take over, and I lose a lot of carrots because the weeds take over. And when you try to pull a weed out, you pull up half the carrots before they're really grown and, taken hold, and you pull them out of the ground, and then they don't regrow. So I will probably from now on be doing all of my carrots in those pots. It was nice. I was able to put a lot of peat moss in there. It was really nice sandy type soil, and the carrots got really long and straight. A lot of times in the ground they get really crooked and they grow sideways, and they're kind of ugly looking carrots. These carrots were actually pretty nice looking, nice long, straight, thin, some of them are pretty big around, but nice long, straight carrots. I didn't get many that were really curved. But that was it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you on the next one. Have a good day. Bye.